NBA players who ruined their careers in seconds. Gilbert Arenas. Gilbert Arenas didn't just enter the NBA, he exploded into it. A second-round pick turned three-time All-Star, Arenas averaged over 25 points per game at his peak with Washington, and in 2005, he poured in 29.3 a night while hitting game winners from impossible angles. He played like the clock didn't matter, and fans believed every late shot was going in. But that same fearless edge followed him off the court also. In December 2009, a locker room argument over a gambling debt spiraled incredibly fast, and what started as trash talk turned into something far darker. Arenas brought multiple firearms into the Wizards' locker room, presumably to harm one of his teammates. The NBA suspended him for the rest of the season, and Washington erased him from its future in seconds. He returned, but the rhythm was gone, and injuries stole the burst that once made him special. The jokes stopped landing, the trust was broken, and the aura disappeared. Arenas didn't lose his career because he forgot how to score, but because one reckless moment shattered everything he built, and the NBA never forgot about it. Javaris Crittenton. Javaris Crittenton came into the league with real promise, and at first it looked like the NBA had found another athletic guard who could grow into something more. Drafted in the first round in 2007, he showed flashes with the Lakers, and after the All-Star break as a rookie, he averaged double figures while attacking the rim and defending hard. He looked like a player still figuring it out, but moving forward. However, in December 2009, everything changed, and Crittenton's name became permanently tied to one of the league's darkest moments. He was involved in the same Wizards locker room incident as Gilbert Arenas, as he also brought a loaded gun into a space that should have been deemed safe. The NBA suspended him, and teams quickly backed away, but the real damage was still ahead. After his NBA career fizzled out, Crittenton's life spiraled away from basketball entirely. In 2011, he was arrested for his role in a fatal shooting in Atlanta, and he was later sentenced to 23 years in prison. In seconds, his basketball future vanished. But so did something much bigger. His story isn't about unrealized potential, but about how one moment can permanently redirect an entire life. Latrell Sprewell. Latrell Sprewell was never quiet, and that intensity is exactly what made him special on the court and dangerous off it. A four-time All-Star and a key piece on playoff teams, Sprewell averaged over 20 points per game at his peak, and he played with a relentless edge that fans loved. He defended hard, attacked harder, and carried himself like someone who refused to back down from anyone. But in December 1997, that fire crossed a line that ended everything. During a Warriors practice, Sprewell choked head coach PJ Carlesimo, and the incident shocked the league. The NBA suspended him for a full year, and Golden State voided his contract, instantly turning an all-star into an outcast. Sprewell eventually returned with Minnesota and had success again, but the damage was permanent. Teams never fully trusted him, and his reputation followed him everywhere. When his career later ended over a contract dispute, the story felt complete. Sprewell didn't lose his career because he couldn't play, but because he couldn't control the intensity that once fueled him. In the NBA, talent opens doors, but behavior decides how long they stay open. Kermit Washington. Kermit Washington's career is remembered for one moment. A strong physical forward with the Lakers, Washington was known as an enforcer, someone who protected teammates and played through contact. He wasn't a star, but he had carved out a solid role in the league, something that would unfortunately lead to his downfall. In December 1977, during a heated game between the Lakers and Rockets, chaos broke out and Washington threw a punch which struck Rudy Tomjanovich in the face, fracturing his skull and nearly ending his life. The arena went silent, and the league was forced to confront the reality of unchecked violence. Washington was suspended for 60 days, the longest suspension at the time, but the punishment didn't match the weight of the moment. His reputation was destroyed, and every stop afterward came with that incident attached. Even though he continued playing, his name became shorthand for disaster. Washington didn't intend to end a career or nearly a life, but one reaction erased everything else he had done, and the NBA never separated the player from the punt. Ron Artest. Ron Artest was always different, and that difference made him both elite and unpredictable. As a defensive player of the year and an all-NBA talent, Artest could lock down superstars while still giving you 18 points a night. He played with emotion, pride, and an edge that overwhelmed opponents, but it also lived dangerously close to chaos. In November 2004, during a game in Detroit, that chaos took over. After a hard foul, Artest went into the stands and attacked a fan, and the malice at the Palace became one of the most infamous moments in sports history. The NBA suspended him for the remainder of the season, and the image followed him everywhere. Artest eventually rebuilt his career, won a championship with the Lakers, and even changed his name. But the damage was permanent. Sponsors vanished, trust disappeared, and his prime years were cut short. He proved redemption was possible, but his story remains a reminder that even elite talent can lose everything in seconds, especially when emotion overwhelms control on the biggest stage. Steven Jackson. Steven Jackson built his career on toughness, honesty, and never backing down. And for years, that approach worked. He was a key piece on championship-level teams, averaged double figures for most of his career, and played with a fearless confidence that teammates respected. Jackson spoke his mind, played through pain, and embraced confrontation. But in 2004, that mindset pulled him into the malice at the Palace, alongside Ron Artest. Jackson followed Artest into the stands, throwing punches at fans, and the league responded swiftly. He was suspended for 30 games, and his reputation shifted overnight from gritty leader to liability. Jackson continued to play and even led teams in scoring afterward, but the league never fully trusted him again. Front offices viewed him as volatile, and his career became a series of short stints instead of stability. Jackson didn't lose his career instantly, but that one moment changed how every team saw him. In the NBA, perception matters almost as much as production, and once that image cracks, it never fully repairs. Tyreke Evans. Tyreke Evans entered the NBA looking like the future, and his rookie season felt historic almost immediately. In 2009, he averaged 20.1 points, 5.3 rebounds, and 5.8 assists, becoming just the fourth rookie ever to hit those marks alongside Oscar Robertson, Michael Jordan, and LeBron James. He won Rookie of the Year, hit clutch shots, and looked like a franchise cornerstone in Sacramento. But from that moment on, his career slowly drifted off course. Evans was constantly shifted between positions, and injuries began piling up, especially knee problems that robbed him of his explosive first step. He still flashed talent in New Orleans and Memphis, and in 2017, he averaged 19.4 points while shooting nearly 38% from three. It looked like a comeback, and teams believed again. Then in 2019, everything stopped. Evans was banned from the NBA for violating the league's anti-drug program, instantly ending his prime years. Unlike injuries or bad fits, this was final. He eventually earned reinstatement, but the league had moved on. Evans didn't lose his career in one highlight moment, but in one announcement, and it erased a path that once looked guaranteed for stardom. OJ Mayo. OJ Mayo was labeled a prodigy before he ever stepped on an NBA court, and expectations followed him everywhere. Drafted third overall in 2008, he averaged 18.5 points as a rookie and finished runner-up for Rookie of the Year. He could score at all three levels, looked fearless late in games, and was supposed to be Memphis's future. But the climb stalled almost as fast as it started. Mayo bounced between roles and teams, and while he remained productive, discipline became an issue. In 2016, after a solid season with Milwaukee, where he averaged 12.4 points, everything collapsed. Mayo was suspended 2 years for violating the NBA's anti-drug program, effectively erasing his career. Unlike shorter suspensions, this one ended all momentum. Teams moved on, rosters filled up, and Mayo never returned to the league. He was still just 28 years old when it ended. Mayo didn't flame out because he couldn't score, but because reliability matters more than raw talent. In seconds, a scorer who once looked inevitable became another name people only mention when talking about what could have been. Sebastian Telfair. Sebastian Telfair was famous before he was ready, and the weight of that attention never let up. A New York City legend, he jumped straight from high school to the NBA in 2004 and was drafted 13th overall. He had speed, handles, and hype, and he was supposed to be the next great point guard from Brooklyn, but the transition was brutal. Telfair bounced between teams, never finding stability, and while he showed flashes, his averages never matched the expectations. Off the court, legal trouble followed him, including weapons charges that led to suspensions and damaged trust. Each incident pushed him further from the league's inner circle. By the time his NBA career ended, Telfair had become a cautionary tale rather than a star. Later arrests and convictions completely overshadowed his basketball years. Telfair didn't lose his career on one play, but the moment he couldn't separate himself from the chaos around around him, teams stop believing. The league moves fast, and once patience runs out, even the most hyped prospects get left behind without a second look. Isaiah Rider. Isaiah Rider had one of the smoothest games of the 1990s, and when he was locked in, few guards were more electric. He averaged nearly 20 points per game in his prime, won the 1994 slam dunk contest, and delivered one of the most famous shots ever with his blind falling out of bounds three. Talent was never the issue, but discipline always was. Rider's career was defined by constant suspensions, arrests, and conflicts with teams. He was fined, benched, released, and warned repeatedly, but the pattern never stopped. Even after winning a championship with the Lakers in 2001, teams no longer trusted him to stay focused or available. By age 30, his NBA career was over. Rider didn't disappear because the league passed him by, but because his off-court issues kept demanding attention. In the NBA, chances are given, but not endlessly. Rider showed how quickly teams move on once the risk outweighs the production, and how fast a gifted scorer can become a cautionary example instead of a legend. Delonte West. Delonte West's career is one of the most heartbreaking stories in NBA history because the fall wasn't sudden, but slow and painful. On the court, he was a solid guard who averaged nearly 10 points per game, defended hard, and played key roles on playoff teams in Boston and Cleveland. He hit big shots, guarded bigger players, and earned respect as a competitor. But off the court, West battled mental health issues, legal trouble, and instability. Weapons charges led to suspensions, and inconsistent behavior made teams nervous. Even when he played well, the concern never disappeared. After leaving the NBA, his struggles became public, with videos and photos showing him homeless and in distress. West didn't ruin his career with one decision, but with an illness that never let go. His story isn't about recklessness, but vulnerability, and how unforgiving the league can be when support runs out. Talent kept him employed, but stability never followed. In seconds, fans forgot the player, but the person was still fighting battles long after the spotlight faded. Malik Beaseley. Malik Beaseley's story feels different because the basketball never stopped working. He became one of the league's most dangerous shooters, broke franchise records in Minnesota, and averaged over 16 points while playing all 82 games for Detroit. He did his job, stayed productive, and looked like a perfect modern role player. But perception changed everything. In 2020, Beaseley was arrested on gun-related charges and later served jail time, leading to a league suspension at the peak of his value. Teams began viewing him as a risk, and despite strong seasons, he bounced from roster to roster. Then in 2025, reports surfaced of a gambling investigation tied to NBA games, and that kind of news freezes careers instantly. Beaseley didn't lose his career because he couldn't shoot, but because trust is fragile. In today's NBA, availability and reliability matter as much as talent. One decision can turn a rotation staple into a question mark, and once that label sticks, contracts disappear fast. Beaseley's career shows how thin the margin really is between secure and cooked.